All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about a chapter from the Quran today, Surah Al Mulk. But here's the twist. One scholar argues that we've gotten it completely wrong. He says its real message has been, well, buried alive. So think of this as a kind of rescue mission.
And this quote right here, this is really the heart of the whole thing. The argument is that the text isn't dead. Not at all. It's just been trapped, imprisoned by how we've come to understand it. And so the job is to dig it out, dust it off, and let it actually breathe again.
Okay, so what does that even mean? For a text to be buried alive? Well, according to this interpretation, it's when the original potent message gets pushed aside and replaced with something else, something completely different. So the argument is that instead of being this profound guide for how to live your life, the surah has been turned into a bunch of superstitions. It's kind of like a spiritual vending machine, right? You put in a recitation and you expect to get protection or wealth out of it. No real change required on your part.
All right, so let's really get into it. What are these myths that people talk about? And more importantly, what's the powerful meaning that they've supposedly replaced? Because this is where it starts to get really fascinating.
Okay, first up, the big one. Probably the most common idea you'll hear is that reciting this surah is like a magic shield against punishment in the grave. But what if that's not the point at all? The interpretation we're looking at says the focus isn't on the afterlife, but on this life. It's supposed to be a blueprint for a just society, for us, right here and right now. And here's another one you've probably heard. Read it every day and you'll never be poor. It's like a spiritual lottery ticket. But this idea runs head-on into a really central Quranic idea, which is that you only get what you actually work for. So the message isn't about some magic formula for riches. It's about the dignity and value of your own effort. And this quote, wow, it just nails the stakes, doesn't it? The source is basically saying, look, when you start trading these deep core principles for easy, comfortable superstitions, you're playing a dangerous game. You risk losing the very soul of the religion. So, okay, if the real meaning is buried, how in the world do we find it? Where do we even start digging? Well, the idea here is that the tool we need isn't some complicated piece of equipment. It's actually much simpler. It's all about a fundamental shift in our perspective.
Yeah, this is the big question, right? How do we get past all those myths to find what's underneath? If the whole problem is a misunderstanding, where do you take that first step toward, real understanding?
And the answer, surprisingly, isn't about memorizing a bunch of new historical facts or complex theories. At least not right away. It all comes down to one simple, but honestly pretty difficult shift. It's about changing your perspective. That's it. That's the key. Before you can even begin to get the words, you have to adjust the very lens you're using to read them. And it all starts with understanding one single, crucial word. And that word is mulk, the actual name of the surah. According to this view, if you can unlock the true meaning of this one word, the entire chapter, everything transforms. Now, for most of us, when we hear the word mulk, we think of property. My house, my car, my land, my money. It's personal, it's private, it's the stuff you own. But, and this is a huge but, the argument is that in the Quran's language, mulk means something way bigger. We're talking sovereignty, power, governance, the state itself. It's not something you own, it's a public trust that you are responsible for managing. And this old saying proves the point perfectly. For centuries, when people said this, the word milk was understood as the state. I mean, think about it. Justice isn't the foundation of your private backyard, right? It's the foundation of a just and stable society. This whole idea is built on a really cool principle. Whenever the Quran attaches something to God, like saying the house of God or the land of God, it's not making it some exclusive divine thing. It's doing the opposite. It's basically declaring it public property for everyone. So when it says sovereignty belongs to God, the translation is, power is a public trust. It belongs to all of us. So you see the shift? It's huge. The surah isn't about protecting my private property after I die. It's about how we, together, manage our shared power and responsibility in society right now. It goes from being all about me and my stuff to us and our duties. Which brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. If this surah is really about governance and social justice, then why on earth did we end up thinking it was all about the grave? Yeah, exactly. This is the critical question.
Why would such a powerful political message get swapped out for, well, superstitions? Who benefits from that? What's the real motive here?
Well, the answer this source gives is pretty blunt. Superstitions are comfortable. They're safe. Talking about a magic charm for your grave doesn't really challenge anyone in power, does it? It's easy, it's personal, and it keeps things quiet.
But talking about the ethics of power, demanding justice and holding leaders accountable, now that is challenging. That's a message that makes powerful people uncomfortable because it holds their feet to the fire.
So let's wrap up the real takeaway here, according to this interpretation. First, mulk, power, sovereignty. It's a responsibility, not your personal property. Second, how do we measure that responsibility? With competence and justice. And third, and maybe most importantly, this message is for the living room and the parliament, not just the graveyard. So this one shift in perspective takes a familiar text and turns it into this radical call for social justice. And it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? If a message this powerful was hiding in plain sight here, what other incredible ideas are just waiting to be unearthed in texts we think we already know?